Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Lorna.
Hello, good morning, Marco. It's nice to see you this morning.
Nice to see you too. We look like being in the same room almost,
I think we
but
are.
we're not.
We're in the same room, lovely, with a nice cup of coffee. And it's absolutely wonderful to see all of you students joining too, which is absolutely lovely. And we have David and Hayden here from our alumni relations team, who've been absolutely fabulous, organising everything, all of the behind the scenes communication that goes into one of these events. So thank you very much to the team for doing that for us. So this is your What Comes Next session. This is specifically focused at our undergraduate biomedical science students, and I can see lots of you in the virtual room here this morning. As you know, it's me, Dr. Tinworth. I was your previous course leader, and we have Dr. Marco Saya, who's your course leader now. And you also have Maria Neofitu. She is not with us today, but she is your co-course leader now on BSc Biomedical Science. We are joined by a very special panel of recent graduates from your course. And this panel will share their insights into their journey, what they've been doing since graduating, how they got there, their feelings, the good and the bad, and all of these really personal insights that's very hard to get anywhere else. So we've managed to convince them to come along and share that with you. What will happen is the panel will introduce themselves, led by our chair, Dr. Saya, and then they will answer some questions. These questions are have been shown to the panel ahead of time, so they've had time to think about it. They've prepared their answers for you. These are questions that we have been informed from previous cohorts that you really want to be asking. While this is happening, all of your microphones will be switched off. You will have the opportunity to put your question to the panel. And the best way to do this is, as they are talking, just type that away in the chat. We will relay this at the end, and we will get through these questions. So your questions will not be ignored, and we will answer your questions, and they will. It's just that we will get to them in the flow of things. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded. We will share the recording with you at a future date. Students will not be recorded in the recording. So at the end, if you want to stay and ask some questions, that bit we won't share in the recording. Your cameras and your microphones are switched off, so you can't turn them on, but you can use the chat. So in a minute, I'm going to hand over to Dr. Saya, and he is going to do the introductions bit, and then he is going to ask these questions of the panel. When this whole event is over, there's a very important bit that we would like you to do. So there's a feedback form. This feedback form has really helped us to hone the format of these events and to get it right for you guys and right for the next group of students. So it will really help. And if you complete that, you could win an Amazon voucher. We've got a £20 Amazon voucher floating around here. We're going to post the link in the chat. If you complete that afterwards, then you're in the draw for this little voucher as a thank you to you for giving your time and filling in that voucher. Okay, so what I would like to do now is I would like to hand over to Dr. Saya, who's going to introduce our panel speakers, and then he will ask them a series of questions. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you so much, Lorna, for this nice introduction. And I would also say that probably our co-course leader, Maria Neofitu, has joined, or she's about to join. So just in case, we should have her as well. Good news. That said, I want to renew my thanks to these 4 alumni who have decided to help us in this great opportunity. So very big welcome to Cloda, Ramatulai, Shandana, and Suleiman. Are you guys here with us? Do you want to show yourself, turn on your microphones? Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hey everyone, Shandana here.
Okay. Let's check if every one of them is on, if every one of you guys can turn on your microphones and cameras. So let's do this little check to make sure that communication is great.
Hi guys, Suleiman here.
Hi.
Okay. So I heard Suleiman, but probably also Cloda. Did I hear correctly? Hello. Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
can't
good.
turn my video on for some odd reason. It's not allowing me to.
Okay. I will try and do what we can, I would say, with with what we have. So the very first question that I want to ask you guys is really, very introduction type of question. So can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, when and what you have studied here at University of Westminster, and just a little bit about your career, so where you are career-wise. And I would say probably we can stick to the sort of alphabetic order, if that's okay with you. So I would say we can start with Clodagh, Ramatulai, then Shandana, and Suleiman. Let's see how this works.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So my name's Clodagh Allen. I did biomedical science at the University of Westminster, and I took part in the Teach First programme, and now I'm a science teacher in North London.
Brilliant. Thank you, Clodagh. Off to you, Ramatulai, if you can.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ramatulai. Hello. I graduated from the University of Westminster in 2023, and I took the traditional route of graduating, doing the sandwich course, and now I'm a multidisciplinary biomedical scientist at the doctor's laboratory.
Brilliant. Thank you. Off to you, Shandana.
Hi everyone, I'm Shandana. So I studied biomedical sciences at Westminster. I graduated in 2022. I started off my career in 2022 at Lucid Group, which is a healthcare consultant company. I started off as an account executive to a senior account executive. I'm now an account manager. So a lot of the work I do is leading a lot of strategic communication and client engagement within the healthcare, specifically to mid to large size pharma companies. So we work quite close with pharma companies on creating insight-driven programs that translate clinical and market research to help new therapies reach patients effectively, in a nutshell.
Fabulous. Thank you, Shandana. And Suleiman.
Hey everyone, so I did biomedical sciences in 2022 as well. I went on to do a master's in global health at King's, so that was fun. Now I study dentistry, so clearly I love academia. And in the meantime, I do a lot of work with charities, local services, and I do a lot of stuff in outdoor kind of community initiatives, so outdoor pre-hospital care, outdoor expedition care, stuff like that. So that keeps me young.
That was amazing. Thank you, everyone. And I'm really glad to see such a variety in all the careers that you have chosen. Like some people work in science, some people work in teaching and education, management, accountancy, or for Suleiman, a little more diverse path now in dental studies. Really, really nice. Shall we go off with a very first real question? So, what did you do at Westminster that helped you figure out? Somebody said anything. So, what did you do at Westminster that helped you figure out your career path? And what would you do differently if you had the time again?
Are we going in alphabetical order again?
Yes, why not?
Okay.
Or I will leave it to everyone to decide if they want to answer. So please do.
So in my second year at University of Westminster, I took part in 2 programs, and I done the Working Cultures London program, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed that, and that opened my eyes to a lot of opportunities in different industries, not just science-based. I got to learn a lot about internships and graduate programs, and how you can progress as a postgraduate. I found that really interesting. I also did an Explore Teaching program in my second year, where you do a 15-day placement in a school. And that's when because I did not think about teaching beforehand, but when I did that program, I loved it. And I then applied to become a teacher through that program because I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm 5 years now, 6 years postgraduate, I'm 5 years, and I'm still in teaching, and I'm still really enjoy it. And I've done lots of different positions, and yeah, I really liked it. I then took part in, they had an employability award for different placement programs that you done at University of Westminster, and you could build skills, around building your CV, building your LinkedIn, doing volunteering opportunities, doing placement programs, and I received the Gold Award for that for all the different placements and programs I'd done while at university. So yeah, I would highly recommend doing that program, doing the Employability Award, definitely for undergrads. And I wouldn't really change anything that I'd done because I feel like I really took opportunities of all the employability opportunities that University of Westminster offered, and it's definitely helped me in the position I'm in now.
Wow, brilliant. Thank you, Clodagh. Ramatulai, what about you?
With me, like before I applied for, the biomedical science degree, I was always interested with science. So then I was always interested in science. So I decided to apply for the biomedical sciences sandwich course. And whilst doing the degree, what really helped me to shape where I am now is doing the placement. And doing the placement allowed me to understand what it meant to be a biomedical scientist. And I specifically was always interested in clinical biochemistry. And that's what really helped me to decide, okay, I'm just gonna carry on with this degree and I'm gonna pursue my interests. Um, I would say during my degree, I did take on the opportunity of networking. I used the employability the career team to help me with applying for applications, because whilst trying to apply for placements, it's kind of like you're applying for a real job because you have to go through the application process, you have to be interviewed. And during that process as well, I'm so happy that I participated in the mentoring scheme program. My mentor was very helpful. She helped me throughout the application process of my placement. Even after graduating, she was there. She really helped me to build my confidence when applying for roles. I would say one thing I would do differently is when I was studying at Westminster, I wish I participated in more activities. I do recall being part of the Antibiotics on the Earth project. I wish I participated in more extracurricular activities and networked so that I could explore my options. But I'm very happy with the route that I took during my course.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Ramatulai. Shandana, what about you?
So I think Salman can relate, but in our case, so we started or in 2019 and then COVID hit in 2020 actually. So I think I mean in our case we were kind of limited to a bit of opportunities in terms of externally all those extracurricular pieces. But I think what, at least for myself, what I did find useful was stepping my toes into a lot of different things, so different modules, and to actually see what I actually would enjoy. I think those different modules helped me understand what kind of skill sets I was most interested in or what suited me well, what worked best. I guess if I would do something differently back then, of course, COVID was not in our hands, but would probably be to take more opportunities to network with alumni, I guess working in different industries. I think those kind of experiences do help you see the different career paths that a biomed degree can give you. I think because often you just, I mean, the often pathways that we think it's going into lab research or it's academia, but there's actually much more, which I wasn't aware of personally. So I guess that would have been nicer. But yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
Thank you, Shandana. That was really helpful. Suleiman.
Yeah, I would echo that sentiment about the COVID year. That was fun, to say the least. But I think for me, mentoring was mentioned. The career service at Westminster is probably the best that I've seen in a while. And so I've studied at 3 institutions. The Westminster one has definitely been on top, in my opinion. But the biggest thing for me was attending academic events, and that was enabled by both the career service and the university and some of the lecturers. So from attending those kind of talks, lectures, networking events, I explored quite a few pathways. And I tried to use those networks to kind of gain a bit of work experience, some shadowing opportunities, and eventually I found my spark in health development. So I'm hoping to use my master's and my BDS in tandem with each other. And it was very much sparked by the curiosity of other people. In terms of doing something differently, I would probably speak to the lecturers and tutors a little bit more and try and make use of their networks, because they can probably open doors for you too, and particularly when it comes to things like research. So that's something to explore as well, build that network as a tutor, use them.
That's great. Thank you, guys. This was really informative. I would move to the second question for you. So, what specific skills did your degree course give you that you have found the most valuable in securing or performing your current role? Clodagh.
Oh, I'm thinking about the answer.
Oh, it's all right. We can give you as much time as you want.
So, there's, in terms of studying, resilience, networking, communication across different platforms, different opportunities, different networking is something I definitely learned from doing the course. Communication is a massive factor in a skill that I learned on the course. Independent study. So thinking of it now, and I'm now a teacher, and I'm looking at students now who are teenagers. So I'm a secondary school teacher, and just thinking about how independent you have to be at university compared to how much they're spoon fed at the moment. So just building those skills that I had and trying to just prepare students for that independence of university. I did my dissertation in COVID year, so I was doing it at home, and I have 3 young children as well, so it was a difficult time. So I learned lots of skills, I loved studying, I loved the academia, I loved my course, I loved what I did my dissertation on. Skills, top 3 skills are time management, communication, and resilience.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Thank you, Clodagh.
Thank you. There's loads more. I'll let everyone else have it.
Yeah, sure. So, Ramatulai, what about you?
I have to agree with Claudia as well. Like resilience is one of the key factors, key skills that I've developed because the degree was not easy, but we pushed through it. I also like experienced COVID a bit. But luckily for me in my final year, that's when things started to settle. So I got to go into the university a bit. But other than resilience, communication as well, and just the confidence to like talk to other people, to network. What else is there? Another factor was gaining that theoretical knowledge, because I believe that the degree really helped me to be where I am now and to gain the knowledge and the skills that I have now. In terms of practical skills, I'm not the best practical person, but I think with the experience of working in the field, I've gained the confidence to do like some manual techniques. So yeah, I think those skills have really helped me and shaped me to where I am now. And I'm really grateful for the university for all the assistance that they've provided.
Thank you, Ramatulai. Appreciate it. Shandana, what about you?
So I think from the course, there were plenty of skills, as Clara and Ramatulai mentioned. I guess problem solving and project organization was something quite key, especially with courseworks, lab works, and deadlines. I guess it built that determination, that resilience. It kind of ties in all together. I guess confidence is something the degree did give me, and I think it ties into how supportive the university was itself. I often found at times where I needed that extra support, I knew I could always go to my tutor and I would get that, even my course leaders. So I think that really helped me gain that confidence and quite comfort as well in the course. Relevant to my role, I would say that the problem solving and project organization, time management was quite key and crucial. I guess balancing all those pieces together is relevant to what I do now, which is working across different projects, working with different teams. So yeah, there's a lot I gained, and I'm grateful for it.
Very, very good. Suleiman.
Yeah, so there were definitely a lot of soft skills to learn during the undergrad. That's a massive learning period. Self-discipline, learning the hard way, not to leave deadlines so last minute, getting involved in as many things as possible at Westminster. So I don't know if the fans initiative is still a thing, but that was really good to kind of learn a lot of soft skills from, the sports societies, even seminars. And looking back, I didn't really realize how impactful things were at the time. Upon reflection, I've learned a lot. Research exposure, scientific literacy, but for me specifically, going on to further study, things like evidence-based approaches, critical thinking, critical appraisals, applying that academically needs quite a specific approach, particularly for something like a master's or a BDS. And I was quite lucky to have a lot of support in developing those skills from people like Dr. Tinworth and Dr. Gaze. So kind of make use of the staff that you've got. And that would kind of be the kind of things I would focus on.
This is really interesting. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Suleiman. Let's move to yet another question. We're curious to ask you, what were your worries in terms of employment opportunities coming out of your degree versus your actual experiences? So a little bit about, what were you worried about when you were almost there with your certificate?
Can I start with this one?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay, my worries, funnily enough, because I did a placement, I was like, oh, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna get a job straight away after graduating. But that was not the case. With me, like, in terms of becoming a HCPC registered biomedical scientist, I had to wait to graduate. I had to wait for my diploma before actually registering. So that took a while. That took about 3 months. And during that time period, I was still like trying to apply for roles and trying to gain interviews, although I was not yet registered at the time. But whilst doing that as well, I decided I'm not just gonna sit around. I'm gonna apply for other lab roles, even though it's below me. But whilst doing that, I've realized that I've gained different skills. I was in a different discipline at the time. So I done my placement in blood sciences, but when I graduated, I worked as a lab assistant in microbiology. So I gained some skills and knowledge in that area as well. But long story short, it took me about 7 months to get my current role. So I would say initially I didn't have any worries, but during the application process, like obviously it was very daunting to have interviews, but going through so many interviews has gained my confidence that I have now, and it has helped me like acquire the knowledge that I have now. So I appreciate the process.
This was really interesting. Yeah, and most of us, if not all of us, shared some or all of your worries from until I have to say. Shandana, what about you? What were your worries closer to graduation or just after graduation?
Yeah, I think, Marco, as a person, I am someone that thinks about the future a lot. So I think when I stepped to second year, I was like, okay, what's next? What do I have to do to get to this path? But I think it was kind of not knowing what the clear path was actually for me, which was kind of my worry. So I was a bit concerned about how would this degree that I've done translate into industry roles, because that was something I was more interested in, or whether there would be enough opportunities outside of the lab. I think that's something I was kind of concerned about. But honestly, I think biomed is such a versatile degree itself. And I think there's so much to offer that once you kind of explore those opportunities, once I did start exploring those different opportunities, I did realize there was actually a lot out there. So there was much more opportunities than I initially expected. So I guess my actual experience, like Ramatullah said, it's not easy in the sense that you have to apply to a lot of places. And I think I'm not going to sugarcoat that, you apply to one place and that's it. I think everyone has it very different, and you have to apply to a lot of places, but it's the experience you get within those application processes, within those assessments, within those interviews. And I think it shapes your experience itself. So my actual experience actually was quite, I guess, rewarding in the sense that it was not the easiest, but in the sense that I learned so much on the way. Like I learned so much about interviews itself. I learned so much about that confidence building skills. So I think you kind of have to put yourself out there, take a leap of faith, kind of build that confidence within you to explore things, and then things do work out in the end. That's what I would say.
I'm curious to ask you just to follow up on your answer. Was there anything that you actually did to, have the self-confidence to, be courageous enough to do this leap of faith?
I think it's more of, taking a leap of faith kind of comes within. It comes within self. I think it's kind of reminding yourself that, you're not in this alone. There are other people who are in the same boat as you. I think it's kind of reminding yourself that it's okay to not have everything figured out. I think we often push ourselves a lot that we have to know this, we have to know that. We don't. It's okay. We're human. And I think just those self-reminders, which is easier said than done, but I think talking from my experience itself, it was more like it's that self-resilience you build within. And it actually helps by talking to a lot of people. I honestly think talking to people about it helps so much, because I spoke to a lot of alumni students or a lot of people in different industries, actually, not just biomed, who had similar experiences. So I think just knowing that, okay, I'm not in this alone, everyone is going through this, it really did help and build that self-confidence, I'd say.
Yeah, a lot of communication and exposing yourself to different experiences. This is really, really important. Yeah. Thank you, Shandana. Suleiman, what about you? Any particular worry when you graduated or around that time?
Yeah, I think for me, doing the degree, starting the degree, I didn't actually know too much what to expect. I knew what I was signing up for, but in terms of practicality, the lab-based skills, how far would it go? So kind of my concern when I got to about second year was, particularly with the COVID year, would this degree be too broad? How much of those skills are actually relevant? Especially moving away from the lab-based skills, because we didn't get that much exposure when we first started naturally. And then kind of I had a bit of an adjustment challenge for my master's, where I thought, how much rigor did the biomed degree actually give me? And then it was upon reflection, I was like, oh, okay, so there are actually a lot of transferable skills. And I've used a lot of those same skills doing outdoorsy stuff, like the critical thinking, delivering first aid on a mountain. That's something I don't really consider when I look at a lab-based degree. And then one of the other things I kind of considered was whether further study post-masters was actually worth it. I always thought I'd do kind of traditional, do the degree, do the masters, get a job, live life. But then I kind of realized career paths aren't necessarily linear, and they never are, especially in the current job market. So I'm quite grateful to have done the undergraduate degree first, and I think it's given me that interest in research and even stuff like teaching that is taking me forward, and that's kind of helped me to find my passion and find my niche.
Okay, this was really interesting. Thank you. I think we're left with Claude, if you want to share with us, if you were worried about any particular thing back then.
Yeah. So I was worried about, because I did the Explore Teaching program, but I'd applied for the Teach First program, which is Teach First is it's a program where it's a 2-year program, and you graduate with a PGDE in education, and QTS is 2 years long. And when I applied in my second year, I was rejected, and my application was I didn't get through. And then I did the Explore Teaching program and had that real life experience in the classroom. And then my application was far better because of the experience. I could give real life examples, and that made my application much stronger. And then I was accepted, and I was able to go through that program. So I'll link it back to resilience, and that you will apply for loads of things when you graduate, and there will be setbacks and rejections, and you might feel disheartened, but just try again. It's not a closed door forever. You can gain more experience, and it will improve your application. So be resilient and keep trying. There is loads more opportunity and time. And again, like Solomon said, it's not linear. It's yeah. And I'll link it back to Shandana, what you said as well about it. Biomedical science is such a versatile degree that you can get into lots of different careers. And because there's such a vast skill set that the degree gives you, and having that on your CV and in your career is really helpful. Thank
you. Thank you, Claude. I mean, I liked how everyone has slightly different worries, but more than once we heard lack of self-confidence or as one of the main ones. And of course, we all have it. Regardless of your stage in your career, guys. I can tell you even more senior people have lack of self-confidence. So it's really important that we work on this, and we use networking. We talk to people. We realize that we're not alone. We're not unique in our doom of finding a job or like having success in our job. So just we are humans, and we're all we can all share our worries. Let's move on to the next question. Quite interesting, more technical. What was the hiring process for your current job like? Shall we start with anyone, actually? I'm happy to start with Cloda or any one of you guys.
I can start.
Yeah,
So I think
thank
the
you.
hiring process is different, I guess, for every place. I guess in my case, it was a two-stage interview process. So I think in the first stage, I mean, it feels like it's a lifetime ago, it was a few years ago, but it was a two-stage interview process. And in the first stage, they basically just want to know a bit about yourself, just why you're interested in this role, what can you kind of offer to the team, or like what do you bring, what do you bring with you. I think it's a lot of what skills do you bring with you, which I would say is quite key in interviews. So that was my application process. But I think that being said, just in general with applications, I did have to do a lot of applications that had assessments, a lot of applications that had three-stage interviews. So I think it's quite different for whichever role you do apply for. But I think it just ties back to what I said earlier, that like you just have to keep trying. I think I kind of lost the amount of places I applied to, and I remember I would get a lot of rejections. But honestly, rejection is always redirection. That's what I would say. It's something I would 100% say, that it doesn't mean anything. It does. If you get rejected, it's not the end of the world. It's always redirection. And I think from everyone's conversation, Suleiman, Ramatullah, Claudia, I think one thing is that you learn a lot in the process. You learn so much about yourself, even things that you didn't know you were capable of, things you realize that you need to work on. So I think if you just keep actually even going through that interview process itself, I think that's great practice for you, basically. Ties you well for the future.
It was very nice. I really loved that rejection is redirection. Can I just add on your answer, Shandana? How did you find the job ad? Was it like a random browsing, or was it through particular networking, or
So it was
how?
through LinkedIn, but I think actually learning about the industry itself was through like just connecting with people. So a lot of networking went into it, but I'd say LinkedIn, Bright Network, those are great places to start from. But I think for me personally, LinkedIn was where I had kind of seen you can kind of filter out specific roles and industries that really helped me. But there are other various channels. So you have Bright Network, you have Indeed as well. But I found with LinkedIn, I had built a profile on LinkedIn, and I think it was quite essential that I put on the internships I'd done virtually, or the courses I'd done, or for example, my research project. So recruiters do end up seeing all of that. So it's kind of what you present on your LinkedIn that I think did help. So yeah, that was for me at least.
Thank you, Shandana. I can move in alphabetical order, or I can leave everyone just intervene. Suleiman, what
I
about
don't
you?
mind going next.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah, sorry, Ramatullah.
Um, I already started to speak about it a bit, but in terms of the application process, so with biomedical sciences, you can apply for the NHS, and then you can apply for private labs. So with the NHS, their application process is a bit different. You have to put a personal statement. They say like up to 1,500 words. And then after that, you get to, based on if you met the criterias and they're happy with your application, then you get to go for an interview. And with all the interviews, it was like a panelist interview. So there's three people interviewing me. With the private ones, their one was just CV, and then you can put a cover letter. But if you're interested in, becoming a biomedical scientist and you're applying for those roles, always add a cover letter, just so that they can see there might be something missing in your CV that you've added in your cover letter. Um, I've gone through a bunch of interviews, as I've mentioned. In terms of finding them, I did go through the NHS website for NHS roles, and then private, I just searched on Google. I went on Indeed. In terms of like the questions that they ask you, they do ask you like generic questions to get to know you better. But then in terms of the theory, they want to know based on the discipline that you've applied for. Let's say microbiology, you need to have some knowledge in that area. And also, like, when I did my placement, I've done the generic portfolio, which is basically gathering a bunch of evidences to show that you can be qualified as a biomedical scientist. So when you finish that your placement and you're starting to apply for roles, you don't have to apply for just blood sciences. You can apply for different disciplines, but they're looking in terms of the application process and the hiring process. They prefer someone with more experience. That's not to like um you know what's it called? I can't think of the word, but it's not to say that you shouldn't apply for another area that you're interested in. In terms of that, you can use skill sets that you've done, like all lab practicals in university, and add that in your CV and your application. So besides, yeah, they ask theoretical questions. They ask like other questions like to gain your understanding on how a lab works. So that's a summary of the application process and everything. And my first role, I actually got it from Indeed, and it was like a small private lab, which I stayed there for only 3 months before going into the doctor's laboratory, which is where I'm currently working now.
Yeah, sometimes even just a very short experience, 3 months somewhere can, give you such an added value to your CV that you didn't really see it before. So that's really interesting. Thank you. Either one of you, Cloda or Suleiman, up to you. Something about your hiring process.
Yeah, I don't mind going. So with my current role, I'll speak about that. With Teach First, it's an application form, and then if your application is successful, you'll be invited for quite a rigorous interview process. It's a whole day. You'll have a 45-minute competency interview. Then you'll have team building exercises. You also have to do a teaching episode where you have to teach, and it's a whole day process. And it's quite competitive. There's a lot of applicants for the program. I would say Teach First and PGCE, the two programs, they're different, but it's down to personal choice.
Yeah. I remember you saying that you didn't get it at first, and then
No.
yeah. So that's quite something to keep in mind. Suleiman.
Yeah, so for something like the masters, that requires, it depends where you apply. So that was something I didn't actually know. You can either apply through UCAS or the university's own portal, and that kind of changes the application process a little bit. So I think UCAS is now preset questions, whereas the other universities, they would ask certain things. They'd ask for your evidence and background in research and stuff like that. In terms of stuff like dentistry, medicine, vet med as well, interviews, panel interviews, multiple mini interviews. That's where they've got loads of different stations. They've got practical assessments, how you relay information. They assess all of that stuff before you can get in. They've got entrance exams, so the UCAT, the BMAT, stuff like that. And looking more at stuff like external work that I do, I think the biggest advice I've got there is who you know. Your network is your net worth. So I've had a lot of work kind of signposted to me because, the experience, reputation, word of mouth can carry that forward quite a lot. So, LinkedIn was mentioned. That's a really good way to reach out to people. So that's kind of the hiring process for kind of the route I've taken.
Thank you. Next question, even though you guys have covered some information around that, but if you have anything else to say about this in particular, where do you advise students and recent graduates to find job opportunities? Some people said Indeed, some people said LinkedIn. Is there any other place that you would suggest for the future graduates?
I guess it also depends if there's a specific company you want to apply to their portals, or like Ramatullah said, the NHS websites. I guess it's just kind of exploring around, but the mainstream ones I'd say would be LinkedIn, Indeed, or just your Google search really. You should be able to find something, yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. I will then move on to the next question, which is quite interesting. Is there anything on your CV that you think has given you an edge in your career? Up to you guys.
I mean, I
Sorry.
can go for it.
Sorry. Suleiman, do you want to go then? Sorry, I feel
No.
like I can't
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Suleiman, go for it.
Okay. I think for me personally, kind of, I found my niche in outdoor qualifications experiences, and I think having that on my CV has made me stand out in a different way because not a lot of people will do that. So my kind of advice there would be just find something you're actually interested in. You know, I started by just going on hikes with friends, and I didn't realize there were actual qualifications in it. Same with like paddle sports and stuff like that, and that's kind of led to the expedition first aid, outdoor wilderness first aid, and yeah, that would kind of be what I would suggest on that.
Ramatulai, you wanted to say something as well?
Yeah, I was gonna say, in terms of my CV and in terms of like my career in general, they love when people like do outside reading. So on my CV, I've included some of the things like outside of like in terms of reading, I would read from journals or take extra courses just to gain knowledge. So adding that onto my CV and just hitting the criterias that job descriptions want you to have, including that in my CV, basically kind of, up to my game, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just adding on to that, I think definitely I would agree. I think those external courses and those online internships, at least because it was COVID that second year for me, I did a lot of that. I think I made the most out of that time being virtual learning was actually doing a lot of external courses and online internships. And there are actually a lot of still online internships that you could do, which are like self-led learning, which is good to put on your LinkedIn or on your CV. So I would definitely recommend those. I think a lot of, for me on the CV, one thing I would like to flag out is probably my final year research project. I think that also was a kind of a good showcase of scientific training and practical industry experience. So I think from that, it did give me a bit of a strong foundation of the experiences I gained within my lab research project. So I definitely think those kind of things did help on my CV.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I always tell level 4 students or first year students to start taking a look at independent learning, whether it's from whatever, LinkedIn, the MOOC courses, to explore other things that are not necessarily included in the main university course.
No, I agree. I think Marco,
yeah.
just on that, Coursera and Inside Sherpa are two good, I guess, websites to use, sources that I had used personally. And I think on that, I didn't do anything that was very, I guess, science specific. It was more healthcare. So it was like global healthcare leadership, or it was more like health policy. So it was just those global, just different things I did really that just kind of show that you are doing a biomed course, but there's still so much vast that you are willing to learn. It kind of just showcases that you're keen to step your toes in different places, which is what I think recruiters love to see.
Yeah, I believe it's really important to see passion for a certain area of job or science, whatever. That's what sometimes the employers want to see. If you're really passionate about a particular area, what have you done towards it that other students haven't? What about you guys, Cloda, or don't?
I would say as a tip, everyone made really good points, and it is true about standing out and doing something that you're passionate about, and it really helps with your CV. I would say if you do have something on your CV that you've written that you can back it up in an interview with evidence. So if you've said, I'm really good at timekeeping, or I'm really good with group projects, where have you shown that? So be ready for anything you've written in your CV that you have evidence with examples with what you've put in your CV, so you can really quickly at the top of your head give an example of when you've shown time management, when you've shown you're really good at keeping to deadlines, when you're really good at communication. When did you show that you're good at communication? So it's always, you can write a CV, but do you have an example for every single one of the skills that you've listed, and where have you shown those skills? So I think that's my biggest advice with a CV.
Yeah, that's really Really important, especially now in where we use more and more generative AI. It's easier and easier to ask some platform write a good paragraph of skills for me, but how
Sorry, I'm
do
going to put
you
myself
back
on
it
mute
up?
for a second while it's changed over.
That's okay. No, no worries. We're all fine. So yeah, it's really important, as Claudia was saying, whatever you write in your CV, whatever you want to communicate to the employer, back it up with evidence, whether within the CV or in your cover letter. Otherwise, it's quite easy for the employer to realize that it was a little made up type of, skill. Anyways, the next question, quite interesting. All the alumni have said a lot about their careers and experiences. The next question is about, can you guys give to the current students top pieces of advice to navigate their future career? Off to you. Anyone who wants to just turn on your microphone and go for it.
Okay, I'll start. In terms of navigating your career, I'd say just just be bold. Like explore your options. Use the university as your resource. Like use all the resources that you can to help you navigate your career. Like we've mentioned the employability career team at the Westminster. Take part in the mentorship program, even if you're not 100% sure what you want to do. Just choose like just and also network outside of the university. If you go on Eventbrite, they have activities there as well for networking and meeting other people. So that's basically my main advice. And also don't be shy as well. When I was networking and trying to gain job opportunities as well, I felt like I was bothering this manager, but you have to be bold and you have to seek opportunities. And yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah. The amount of times I've been telling to level 4 students, try not to be too shy when we ask you to come up or speak up or like fight the shyness and build it up, because it's going to be really important in your future career, rather than staying in your comfort zone and avoiding a possible rejection. What about you guys? Any one of you, Shandana or Suleiman or Cloda, top advice for the future graduates?
Sorry, I have all my year 11 students currently walking past the room going, yes, so you're not in the classroom. Sorry, they can see me. My top advice is go above and beyond to stand out. So go and look for those opportunities, go and take that volunteering, make sure because every single time you do those things, you're building those skills. Even the students, even the undergrads that are on this meeting right now are getting so much advice, and that you're taking part in this meeting is really good. That's a step of trying to learn these skills. So doing everything that you can, any kind of volunteering that you have, that and outside work experience. So if you have, even if you have part-time jobs, some of you, if you're able to, you'll have so many skills if you're working in customer service, if you've had a customer service job, if you've had, if you've emailed your lecturer asking for advice, that's building those communication skills, asking, can I do anything extra? Those are the things that are really going to count when you go into a job, because you're going that extra mile. Thank you.
Thank you, Cloda. Shandan, if I can point the attention to you, top advice for the graduates or future graduates.
No, I think staying curious and like everyone said, just exploring those different opportunities, that's kind of a key advice I'd give. I would say ask the questions, so no question is ever wrong. I think I often struggled with thinking, am I asking the right question? But honestly, you need to ask the questions. I think it's really important to ask those questions. And taking advantage outside of the classroom, attending those career talks. So like today, for example, it's a step like what I said. So connecting with the alumni. I'm more than happy for students to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to give any advice if anyone needs any support or just any guidance generally. I think that's something that I think is quite useful for navigating careers in general. I think those experiences can also give you valuable insight into what different career paths look like. And I guess just don't underestimate yourself. I mean, there's so much you have to offer. And I think it's just, like I said, it builds into that self-confidence aspect where you're learning great things here at the University of Westminster. And I think the skills that you're gaining like at this course it's so versatile that it's going to give you a great foundation to build a career like in more places than you can imagine. And I think like Suleiman said, that career doesn't have to follow a straight line. I think sometimes the most unexpected can be the most rewarding as well. So I think just, following your heart, just being trying to gain that confidence, talking to people, and yeah, I think that's useful. And believe in yourself. I think don't give up. I think we all used to be in the same boat as you guys were today, and I think just talking from that experience, it's like now where I am today, I'm very happy and I'm very grateful, and I think I really hope everyone's career paths it goes where they wish for, but definitely I think just keep exploring, keep asking the questions, and stay curious.
I feel like I'm taking notes because I need those advice as well. This was so good, guys. Really so good. What about you, Suleiman? Top advice for the future graduates?
Yeah, so I would say Westminster has a lot of opportunities that you just need to kind of look for. So I'd just say take all of them, keep yourself busy, and if there isn't an opportunity, just make one. So speak to your lecturers. If you want to start or join one of their research projects, try it. People are willing to help, so use that and then pass it on. But I think in terms of things like further study, particularly, commit. Keep your options open on the side, but you need to have a bit of tunnel vision. You need a bit of an obsession to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So don't be afraid to try every avenue, speak to people, apply for things you think might be out of reach. Enjoy your time at uni, but really find something to zone in on and just go all in.
Yeah, that's really important as well. Being passionate, motivated, and focused on a particular path. Show that this is what you want to do. Oftentimes, employers really want to see motivation and drive more than the actual skills. I mean, skills are, of course, fundamental. Certificates are fundamental. But oftentimes, what the certificate is not giving you, the motivation is, your drive is giving you. So I would say, I think we are under 1 hour in this very interesting event. We have some extra questions. I would say that probably we have time to go for one or more of these questions. Should we? It's little like stretch questions if you want. So if you alumni are not way too tired of being here, maybe you can endure a little more. And I can ask one or two more questions before we see what the students are curious about. So this one is quite interesting. Any regrets about things that you didn't do? Something that you didn't want to do or you couldn't do, and now you regret your choice.
I think I can comment a little bit on that. During my master's, I had an opportunity to get involved in a research project, and I thought, I've got a lot going on, I'm going to apply for dentistry now. Let me just leave it. And in hindsight, I think maybe I should have just gone for it. And like I said, just take the opportunities as they come. They're not going to wait. So although I got those opportunities later down the line, I think it would have been good if I just done it back then. You might be busy, but deal with it. Just crack on.
Yeah. Oftentimes you don't know the advantages of doing something when you're saying, well, no, probably it's not the best thing for me now. You don't know the advantages that it can bring you. So endurance. I think one of you has mentioned endurance a few times. Probably was you, Suleiman. If none of you has answers on regrets, there's a
Oh,
couple more.
I will add on there. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. The more the merrier.
I'd say one of the things I regret and sometimes I'm still working on is I struggle to ask for help. I can be fiercely independent, and sometimes I didn't ask for help from my lecturers or with projects or with assignments when I wasn't clear on exactly what I needed to do, and I kind of struggled in silence rather than asking for help. So I think that's always important to ask for help when you need it, and
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, I feel attacked by that. Thank you, Clodagh.
I think just
Shandana.
to add on that, I would so relate, I think, to Clara what she said. I think also it
Yeah.
kind of applies to even in today's working, how in our jobs, in our careers today. So yeah, definitely I think asking for help is something that I wish I did a bit more as well, where I thought I could do something. And I think it's often that we think if we're asking for help, it means we're not good enough to do it or we can't do it. I think sometimes it's a mental thing as well. You're like, oh, like I don't know if I can do it. I'll try to do it myself. But I think it's important to ask for help, and I think an advice would be definitely to ask for that help, even if you're unsure, even if you think you can do it. It's still good to have like a sounding board, just for someone to hear you out. So yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. Let me just pick one last question from the list, because there's a few more really interesting, but I think we have been grilling you so much, and we want to give voice to the students as well. Um, mm, mm, mm. I think this one is a very good one. Do you have any tips on how to find your way if you are unsure about where you are interested in? So for the ones who haven't found their passion.
I think talking to people really helps. I think talking to people, just like, for example, today's event, connecting with us afterwards is quite useful. I think that communication aspect is a big piece, and I think it helps a lot just to navigate that, oh, there is something out there. That's something I didn't even know existed, because I didn't know the role I'm in today that existed a few years ago until I spoke to people about it. So I think definitely talking to people really helps.
Yeah, communication, talking to people, that's really important. Academics, alumni, student unions, name it, really. Okay,
I would
so
say so.
yeah,
Um,
hi.
hi, sorry. I can't put my camera on, but I can still talk. Just to add on to what Shandana said, talking to people is very important, but I would also say just explore your options, apply to many roles and see what that role would take, like what that role has to offer, because you never know, you might apply to a role that you've never considered even thinking about doing.
Yeah.
But whilst you're in that role, you might find it really interesting and go from there.
Yeah, that's really important. And this links back to uh, trying different things and trying to say yes if you can so that you won't regret it after, even though you're a little unsure if that's your thing, but you never know. And in case it's not your thing, well, at least now you know, and you won't regret going through that experience. I would say, Lorna, do you agree with me? I think we have grilled the alumni quite a lot, and we want to ask a few questions. Well, we want to pass a few questions from the students. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think it's about time. They've given us some really lovely answers. Thank you, panel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what we're going to do now is, as you've been talking to us, the participants have been typing their questions in the chat panel, and our support team here have put these into a document. So I think you have access to those, do you, Marco?
Yes, I do have a list of questions from the
Lovely.
students.
Okay.
I would say if that's okay, I mean, everyone can answer, of course, but maybe, one alumnus can answer one question. So I think this is a good way of dealing with it. But of course, the stage is open to all four of you. So we have a question here. Oftentimes I don't have the name, so forgive me, students, if I don't know who asked what. So the first question is, could you apply during your degree, or do you have to wait until you graduate or require relevant experience in that discipline? or could you apply also before graduating? I guess that was the question.
I think you can. I started applying to roles in my third year. It was specifically around March time. To be fair, this time last year is the time I targeted, not last year, but when I was in my course, the March time of my final year. I think that's a good enough time because you are just about to end your degree. You're about to submit, well, you are on the way of working on your final year project. And I think if you have an expected classification, you're able to put that in your CV. So what I would do is that I'd put that just based on what I had understood of where I was going. So I think you can for some roles. For some, they obviously require to see once you finish your degree, but I think you can start looking, you can start applying. I think you can start the process itself just to gain the confidence, really. I wouldn't wait. I mean, if you wanted to, you could. If you want to take a bit of a break, that makes sense. But if you want to get the ball rolling and you want to build that confidence piece, I would definitely recommend starting from now, of just to build that experience, really.
I would probably underline the fact that you guys, to the students, you don't have to feel the pressure that you have to necessarily. So don't feel anxious about the fact that you haven't found a job out to apply to before your graduation. You don't know how things can go in your life. Oftentimes, a little break, as Shandana mentioned, if you need a little gap, a few months or a gap year where you want to explore, you want to, expand on your possibilities and creativity, or simply, relax and enjoy the end of your studies, don't feel pressured and just go for it.
I think, Mark, just one
Yeah.
thing to add is I totally agree. And maybe when we talked about regrets, one thing I would say is I wish I'd taken a break after I graduated before going into my first role, which I did not do, where people were taking a bit of a break in between, like 3 months to travel. I did not do that myself. So I think that was quite key. And I would recommend that even. This was just my personal experience. And that being said, it does not mean that you have to get a job or you have to secure a job before you graduate. I didn't do that. I didn't get a job before I graduated. It was after I graduated. But I would definitely say take the time out for yourself, because going into any career you go into, it requires a lot demand. It demands a lot for you. It demands a lot of you. And you have to give 100%. So I think giving your 100% also means giving yourself that 100%, which means that self-care, which is very, very important, because I think someone mentioned burnout is very real. And I think to avoid feeling that, definitely embrace it. Enjoy the years that you studied. Take the time for yourself before you step into the real world of your career.
Yeah, that's great. So if anyone else wants to add on, I will move to the next student's question. Good. So the next student says, I wanted to ask if it's better to do a full-time master's course or a part-time one. I'm thinking part-time since I want to gain some work experience, but what do you think? Probably Suleiman, maybe?
Yeah, I think part-time is probably better if you're holding full-time employment. That tends to be the route that people take, at least on my master's. Personally, I would recommend going all in because there's so much work experience you can gain on the side. The master's isn't actually as hard as people make it out to be. It's not easy, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be, 24 hours a day you're struggling and, all of that. If you have time for work experience. So my personal recommendation would be go all in, do the master's full time, get it done a little bit quicker, and get the work experience on the side. And if you want, take a year out, because if you do part time, it adds a year on. So take a full year out and go all in with the work experience. Do something very hammered down, and that will probably look better for the CV as well.
Fair enough. Thank you. Next one is, what would you recommend to a BMS student in terms of direction for maximum gain in lab experience? So probably Ramatulai is the one who's the most appropriate.
In terms of gaining the most lab experience, I would say, like obviously in the Westminster, there's extracurricular activities. I would say partake in those that involve lab work. You should also reach out and volunteer actually in your hospital. Although it's not easy, but you can try and reach out to your local hospitals as well and volunteer and just seek opportunities in that sense. And you can apply even during university. You can apply as a lab assistant, because all you need for that is A levels. So you could apply for that as well. There's bank positions, which is like flexible work, so 0-hour contract. So yeah, that's my advice. in terms of gaining the most lab experience. If you do the sandwich course as well, you'll get to do the placement. If you're on your second year, you can even transition. If you've applied for the third year degree, you can transition to the sandwich course. But you have to do it early on because, you know, applications close. But yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, and I would add to the students, be vocal if you really want to strengthen your laboratory experience. Compared to other types of jobs, I would say the university is the one that it's best endowed with laboratory experience. So just reach out to your academics, and chances are we can provide that. The next question is quite. Oh, David. Hi. Hi,
Hi there,
David.
Mark.
Sorry.
Hi, everybody, and
Hi.
thank you very much, everybody, for taking this this on. It's great to see so much interaction. I just want to add to that, actually. I speak with a lot of the BMS employers because obviously I deal with those coming through to go on to placements, and I know a lot of people that work in industry. I've come from that background as well. I was a clinical biochemist at St George's Hospital. The employers out there do actually appreciate and realize that if you've done your degree as a 3-year degree, they understand that you're going to have limited experience of working in the laboratory. But the important thing to do is that if you get through the application process and you get to interview, is to highlight and showcase what you've done in the laboratories at Westminster, that experience you've got, and how it relates then to the job that you would be doing. So my advice is look at the job description that is being given for the job. It's either an MLA, associate practitioner, or a trainee biomedical scientist job, and tailor your answers so that you say, well, I've got these experiences, so although it wasn't in a clinical laboratory, I know how these would work in the real setting. So it's linking your lived experiences with what's the expectation of the job. Okay, so bringing the two together is what they're looking for, and can you marry up what you've done? So rather than just sort of look at it in silo as your modules and things you've done in the past, how is that going to help you in the job that you're applying for?
Brilliant. Thank you, David. Yep. Next student's question. This is an interesting one, and some of you alumni had said something about it, but have you guys faced challenges along the way, like hitting a brick wall? And how did you work around it? Anyone?
I think in the job application journey, you probably hit a lot of brick walls actually when you get rejected, because you're just like, okay, now what? But I think in that, how did you come back from it? What did you do? I think it's like kind of what David said, kind of seeing the job descriptions, kind of understanding that a bit more. I think it's just getting that experience really. So when I would have a interview that did not go well, I would always ask for feedback, and I would ask for the feedback just so I can improve myself for the next interview, which I think is quite useful. Often I think when you're told that you haven't, you were unsuccessful, I think it's also important to just, to say thank you so much for the opportunity, but just to understand, I'd love a bit more feedback. And I think that honestly helps a lot. So brick walls will always come as part of the way, but that doesn't determine or define anything about you. I think it's part of the process. So I hit a lot of brick walls, and I'm sure everyone has. And you guys probably will too, but that's okay. So yeah.
And if anything, you learn from it. You learn
Of
from
course.
the rejections and
Yeah. Rejections, redirection. Yep.
yeah, exactly. And why not asking, as Shandana's just said, why not asking to the interviewing panel, can you give me feedbacks on my application, and so that I can, improve on some areas of my expertise? Why not? And if you're lucky, you will get those feedbacks. A couple questions, more biomedical science related. So there's one student asking, I am doing 1 year IBMS placement at SWLP next year in hematology. If you had to offer one piece of valuable advice for me for the next year, what would it be? So probably Ramatulai is the most appropriate one. for this? I think you're muted. Not sure if
Sorry, can
that's
you hear
okay.
me now?
Fantastic. Yes, loud and clear.
My advice for the student is prior to placement, like do a lot of reading, outside reading, so that when the student starts their placement, um, the manager, the seniors, the BMSs, all of the staff will see how curious that student is. Because at the end of the day, when you're doing your placement and whilst you're learning and trying to complete your portfolio within that year, you'd also ideally want to remain in that placement unless you're seeking to look elsewhere. And yeah, that's my advice for that student. Just acquire knowledge in terms of the lab. I mean, in terms of what's it called? At Westminster as well, whilst they're waiting for the opportunity. Just also just acquire practical skills and lab practicals as well. But my top advice would be to just do a lot of reading as well in that specific discipline.
Yeah, this is great. Next, the second biomedical science focused question is, what advice could you give to the students that are waiting for IBMS verification? So either Ramatulai or David.
For IBMS verification, I suppose, once they've completed their portfolio, it gets submitted and then they have to wait for the verifier to choose a date. I would say during that period of time whilst they're waiting, they could just like make sure that they know everything that's in that portfolio. Go through the 15 criterias required to be become a HCPC registered biomedical scientist, and just refresh their memory on the laboratory management system, which is essentially how the lab works, all the policies required in the lab. So during that period of time, I would just suggest for them to revisit that, for them to even during my time when I was a placement student, I also worked there as well as a bank staff, which I was doing a 0-hour contract. So if they could try and maybe gain employment as well through that way, so that after they've completed everything, they could get a job there as well. So that would be my best advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ramatulai. We have one final question for the alumni and then a couple questions for actually us academics. Okay, so this question is directed specifically to Suleiman. Is it better to do dentistry / medicine straight away, or is it better to do a master's beforehand? How did you come to the conclusion you wanted to do a master's before dentistry?
Good question. I think it all just depends on what you want to do after you graduate, either a BDS or an MBBS. A fair few people, they do an MSc during that course. So I think after the third year, you can do a sandwich MSc within that. And my course is full of people doing that. Personally, I would recommend doing an MSc only if you want to broaden your scope. So if you want to look at research, if you want to focus on things like the public health sector and public health, which is kind of what I want to do. Or if you needed to apply, because if your degree classification isn't high enough, you will need a master's to apply. Otherwise, you can always revisit an MSc. So do it during the degree or after if you want to. So I think it all just depends on the long-term goal, if that answers the question.
Thank you. I would say it does. And we have the final couple questions for us academics. So first question is, we've only had a limited number of opportunities to apply for trainee biomedical science roles. Are there plans to offer more opportunities for level 5/6 students to progress into these positions and start on the portfolio?
You want me to take that one first, Lorna?
Yes, David, please.
Okay, hi there. How you doing? You all right? Good to see you. Okay, so that's a very good question. And to be frank and honest with you, there is a limited number of placements out there that we have access to. Okay. In addition, it's not just the University of Westminster that has access to those placements. It's other universities in and around London. Okay, so I think the mindset has to be a bit more pragmatic about the approach. Okay, so we do also have a number of placements that are outside of London. Okay, we have placements at NHS BT down in Bristol. We have the access to some regional work up in Manchester and Leeds, Liverpool. But the problem is that a lot of students don't have the ability to move. And so that's something you might want to consider, is whether or not you are able to move for the year. Now, the other thing as well is that, especially with biomed and government-based placements, is that they typically are what we call type B placements. They're unpaid, so that might have an impact on whatever finances that you have coming through as to whether you can afford to move. But that's something to maybe consider. Even with some of the ones that are just a bit further outside of London, the fact that, you know, some students have to travel, you know, 1 or 2 hours to get to the placement, do the day's work, and then travel home again. That, you know, it's something to bear in mind and consider when you are applying for placement. I also think there is value and merit in considering non-biomed placements. Okay, so any experience working in the life science sector would be of clinical benefit and to you, or benefit in the wider context, to then go into a clinical position in the future. And the reason why I say that is that you will then stand out from other people applying with just a 3-year degree in biomedical science. Okay, so even though you might not have done a placement in a diagnostic lab, have got an IBMS portfolio behind you at that point, if you've got experience and lived experience in the working environment, then that will be when you can do those. Okay, Jali just put a good question there: when can we apply for placements? Now, so the placements team are the ones that advertise placements. Okay, these are the ones that we have directly to us from our employer partners in biomedical science. Now, the way in which you get notification of those is that there was an expression of interest form at level 5 that you have to do in November. That was advertised out on all routes and the employability website, and there is a workshop that you have to attend to, which happens in October at level 5. So if you've missed those, then you've missed the communication. There was multiple communications that went out about that, and these placements are very popular, and we can't have all 400 of you coming to the careers team and knocking on their door saying you want to apply for placement. Okay, so there is also the possibility that you can source placements yourself. So there are resources on Career Zone, such as Rate My Placement, Shortlist Me, and other platforms that will allow you to source placements. I suggest also looking at GradCracker. Now, you're familiar with that from level 4 prods, and you should have all had the opportunity to set up an account. You can get notification from them of interesting placements that you would be considering. The caveat would be the diagnostic placements wouldn't be on GradCracker. There would be more sort of life science and bioscience industry. Okay, so there is a wealth of places out there. If you have a family member that is possibly able to give you a placement for a year, that's quite acceptable too. That's no problem. If you've got somebody that works in a science related activity, or in the wider life science industry, it could be in marketing or sales or something like that, or a pharmaceutical company. If you want to do that, then that is quite acceptable too, and you need to come along to speak to the placements team. I'll put the direct email address in the chat, and you can book an appointment, because we would have to ratify that placement and set up a particular paperwork before you go out in September. So I'll do that now. So hopefully that sort of gives you an overview and an idea of where and how you can get to placements. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. One final question, quite a generic one, but interesting in any case, for the academics. What are a few things that academics really like to see in your CV that would make you into a desirable candidate? So things that we would like to see in someone's CV that would make them a desirable candidate? It's quite generic, I would say. Lorna, what would you say about that?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say sometimes, most often, we are applying not with CV now, but applying through online portals and putting information in certain boxes. For me, one of my things is this presented in an organized manner? Has the person put the information I asked for? It seems like a very low bar, doesn't it? But yeah, as a desirable candidate, is there evidence that this person knows what the job description is? Have they reflected the skills and competencies in their application? Yeah. And is their application spell checked? Is it organized? Yeah. Is it structured? This would be my first filter. Without these things, I would be putting that to one side and moving on to find one that was presented nicely. So I think that goes a long way. So, you know, if you're feeling, well, I don't have enough experience, I don't have enough things, okay, you can go and get those experiences for yourself. As our panel were saying, there's online learning to supplement your degree. You can get involved in clubs, societies, experiences, mentoring, all kinds of stuff. That's good. Build up your CV. Yeah. But then showcase it nicely in the application. Yeah. Make this a pleasure to read, make it organized, and reflect the job that you'll definitely know what you're applying for. I would say that. David, anything else?
Yeah, I absolutely endorse that. And the most important thing is for your CV to stand out from everybody else. And the way you do that is for you to communicate what is it that you've got that can add benefit to that particular role and to that organization. So look at the job description, tailor your CV. It's very easy now with these online platforms. You know, you can go onto the NHS website, you can set up an account, you can load up a generic CV, and you can apply for job after job after job with the same one. The problem is that that's going to be very generic, that whoever's reading those is going to go through 80, 90, 100, 120 applications. And unless you actually say, I want to do this particular role and this is what I can do for this role, they're going to bin that one. Okay. They're only going to interview probably 5 to 10 people for that one role. Okay, so your immediate hurdle is getting out of that 120 applications to an interview. And the skill to do that is to tailor your application. So again, the other thing as well, as Lorna said, many of these now are online platforms. Okay, so you can have your CV, you can use that to cut and paste and answer the questions as you go through. Now, one of the things that is becoming more apparent is obviously there is AI. I suggest that you don't use AI to generate your CV or your cover letter or your application response, but use it to check, as Lorna said, so that it's grammatically correct and it's spell checked and everything like that. Okay, they want the human factor that's involved here. And the other thing as well is that often when there is a question, it will say, you know, something in a particular phrase. So make sure that you're answering, and sometimes there will be software that these companies will use to sift through applications. So they'll actually look for certain particular trigger words in your answer. Okay, so if it's asked for something in particular and it tells you what it's looking for, make sure you answer with that particular wording. And again, play the game, be savvy, look at the job description. Look at the essential requirements of the job. Make sure you answer those essential requirements. And then the desirables, have you got anything that's extra, or have you got anything that you could work towards or help you with those particular desirable aspects? So that will be really useful for you to do. There's lots of resources on Career Zone. Okay, so if you haven't looked at Career Zone, it's it's just been rebranded. It was the Engage system. Go onto Career Zone. I've put some links in the chat. There's lots of supportive material on there to help you with those. And you can do an online mock interview. It's an AI type of interview, but you'll get instant feedback from doing that interview. So there'll be a couple of questions that you'll be asked as an interview question. You can do a video upload to those questions, and the AI system will give you immediate feedback. Okay, so it's well worth doing that. Practice those. There are some very generic ones. There's some relating to pharmaceuticals. There isn't a biomed specific one, but we're looking at trying to get something sorted out and uploaded to do that. So I'm working with the IBMS in conjunction with that. But all of those things will help you guys. And I'm going to put another link in as well, which is going to plug. We have another event, the networking event, the life science networking event. I sent an email out to the employability platform, so everybody's got that in their inbox, which is happening, I think, on the 2nd of April. So I'll send you a link to that. Again, register on Career Zone, and that's more generic. It's not just about life sciences in particular, but certainly we'll have people from industry that that will help you navigate this pathway.
Brilliant, David. Lorna, you had your hand up. No, that's okay. It's down.
I did
Okay.
briefly, but just to reiterate what David said, there will be keywords in the essential and desirable requirements of any role that you apply for. Reflect these back in your application, because then any AI filter will pick these up and you won't get sifted out at the first stage. So that would be, yeah, that piece of advice from David there, just reflecting that.
And I would add on to that, saying that, you know, at the end of the day, an application process is the first assessment that the employer puts you under. So it's not just an opportunity for you to provide your CV or your qualifications, but it can be intended as an assessment. They are assessing how good you are to follow guidelines and to prepare your CV properly. So in itself, doing a good application says something about you. Okay. Oftentimes, you know, you can have great skills and great qualifications, but if it's a poor application, if you have done a poor application, this will speak for you as well. And I think we can conclude our session with one final question among the stretch ones for the alumni, and I believe that we have no further questions. So what did you like? What do you like and dislike about your current role? Something that you like, something that you don't like, guys.
I'll go first. Teaching is very, very, very rewarding. So the highs are really, really high. It's you're constantly getting instant feedback from students about your lesson and about the subjects, and having a passion for science and teaching it in a way where you're drawing in students who you can see them enjoying, you can see them engaged, you can see their love for the subject. That is so rewarding every single day. A disadvantage is it's hard work. It's very, very, very demanding job. It's not for the weak. So, yeah, that would be my highs and lows. Very, very rewarding. But yeah,
100%,
it's very hard. It's hard.
100%. Yeah, we all agree. We academics all agree on that, Clodagh.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Shandana, Ramatulai, Suleiman?
I think I would say what I like the most about my job is how meaningful it is, and the work that I do has an impact to patients. I think it's quite meaningful, and I think being able to give back, even if it's in the background, it feels great. And it's quite different, it's quite creative, so I do enjoy that. It's like science but making it creative, which I think is great. So that's one part I really love about my job. I guess sometimes it can get a bit stressful, which is quite normal in any role. I guess that's the only con I'd say, but I think that's just something that it's with everything really, but it's how you kind of manage those stressful periods and moments. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Great, thank you, Shandana. Ramatulai, can I point the attention to you? What do you like and dislike of your current role?
Like similar to Shandana, like the one thing that I like about my role is the impact that it has on patients, because we're literally providing results so that the doctors can give diagnosis to the patients. And like Clodagh said, it's very rewarding as well, in that sense that we're literally helping the diagnosis process. The thing that I dislike about it is that it is very demanding. In blood sciences, it's very busy, get lots of samples, and it can be stressful at times. But like Shandana said, it's just about managing the stress and coping with that environment.
Yeah, managing and coping, these are keywords in our life and time, I would say. Suleiman, what about you? What do you like and dislike of your current role?
So something I like is kind of the breadth of what dentistry actually is. There's so much more to it than I actually thought. And again, echoing the sentiment of impact on patients, I never really understood how much kind of the head and neck anatomy can change someone's life. Literally just a filling alone, if you think of stereotypical dentistry, drill and fill, that can really make a difference for someone. Something that's kind of difficult or less preferred is how physically tiring it is. When I went into it, I thought, okay, I'll be sat down all day, maybe a bit of neck pain, maybe a back pain. It's very physically draining, which I did not expect. There's ways to combat that, stay fit, go to the gym and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of it was a bit of a shell shock. And then on top of that, having to study pretty tough degree, academia, balancing is hard, but it's all part of the process. And at the end of it, it'll be good.
Yep, we agree with you, Suleiman. Yeah, balancing is another keyword. Work-life balance and having a good physical and mental space to, to take care of yourself. This can really help the stress coming from extra study, extra reading, extra research, or work. It seems to me that we don't have further questions, right? So if that's okay, I really want to thank so much Clodagh, Ramatulai, Shandana, and Suleiman for coming here, for giving us their time, their precious advice, their experience. They look like very experienced professionals, which they are, but they're so young as well. So you can, guys, you can really get to that point. I wouldn't say very easily, but surely it's doable. Okay. And it's very good that we organize these networking events. And I believe that Shandana, I think I saw a message saying that anyone can reach out via LinkedIn, for
Yeah,
example.
definitely.
So
More than
thank you
happy.
very
More than
much.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, I think your hand is up.
Thank you, Marco. A couple of people have put in the chat about the networking events. Now, a couple of people said, oh, we're not going to be able to attend because we're working. Unfortunately, we can't record this. It's a networking event. There's lots of people talking at the same time. You can't record that conversation. It's like, people in the room all having conversations at the same time. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. We did try to do a hybrid once and it just doesn't work. Okay, so unfortunately, there won't be a possibility of recording the event, but if you are available on the 2nd of April, 3 till 5:30, we're hosting this in the pavilion, and the details are on the link as to who will be in the room.
Thank you, David. Yeah, oftentimes you have to show up. You have to physically be present. So that said, I think we can draw this to a close, can we? Right? So there must be a feedback form. This is really important for us so that we can gather your views, your opinions, your feedbacks, whether positive or negative. So please reach out. Use the link that I think David Brooks has just attached. And on top of the feedbacks, you can also have a chance to win a £20 Amazon voucher. And that said, I would say thank you everyone for participating. Thanks a million, Lorna and David, for organizing this together with the help of David Brooks and Hayden. And thanks the alumni once again and all the students for coming. We really wish you the best of luck in your future career. And we hope to see the alumni once again another time. Why not? Maybe next year, maybe they will be, they will progress even farther in their careers and they will have even more to tell us. Yeah, I don't know, David or Lorna, do you want to come in with any other conclusive remarks?
Not conclusive, Marco, but just to say a huge thank you again to our panel. They are wonderful, they are inspiring. And I would like to encourage those students who are on the call today to think about maybe coming back in a couple of years' time and sitting in this space and fulfilling this role, and to go on and inspire the next generation and the next generation of students. So yeah, thank you all so much for your time. absolutely wonderful.
And so just to add to that, thank you very much to all of you. It's great to see you back here and to hear about your journeys and the progress that you've all made, and a fantastic inspiration to our students who are navigating this process just the same way as you guys did a couple of years ago. So thank you very much. And my last shout out from me is to everybody in the room. If you are thinking, obviously, of applying for things as you are coming up to graduation, or, you know, for maybe next year, if you're thinking about going into possibly doing a placement, make sure you engage with your personal tutor. They're the person that's going to write you a reference, okay? Just sending them your CV doesn't mean they know you, okay? They're going to say, right, okay, well, this is that person. I can look at their student record and this is how good they are, but it doesn't give me an idea of who you are and what your passions are. Okay, how do I get my reference to reflect you? Okay, so have a meeting with your personal tutor. It's really important if you want them to write you a fantastically glowing reference, because it's not just about your academic ability. So please do that. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks everybody, and thank you also to Hayden and David for helping organise the event, and to my colleagues as well on the call, Lorna, Marco. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.